Hello there, welcome to this session, Inner Child Discovering Addiction Patterns. So each of these layers that you're discovering are centered around the inner child, and that's because when you have a close relationship with your inner child energy, anything in life is possible. You'll feel more confident, naturally secure, and able to make life choices from the position of strength, not fear. So why should you release the inner child's relationship with addiction? Well, we're going to look at it from the perspective that addiction is really about a nurturance gap. This nurturance gap perhaps makes it easier for the addiction to appear physical, as in a physical addiction, especially if it has existed over many generations. When there has been a nurturance gap, no one through the generations really knows what it feels like when there isn't one. Someone of a generation 100 plus years ago through your family line lost a child, for instance, then went on to have a live birth that grew up fine into adulthood. Shouldn't the parents be rejoicing that child survived? Logically, of course, yes, they should be rejoicing that that child survived. The truth is, there was a fear inbuilt at the child's birth. It too might die. Therefore, the belief, don't get too close to your children, is stuck there, because they may leave you at any point. They may die. And this kind of messaging is passed through the generations. And it leaves the door wide open for a nurturance gap. Another might be starvation 100 plus years ago. The breadwinner feels they're not a breadwinner. Food is scarce. They're not sure they can feed their children. What do? They begin to distance themselves from them because they can't cope with the shame feelings of being unable to provide to survive. The nurturance gap of emotional unavailability in terms of the father syndrome begins. The father isn't emotionally there, and the mother, well, she feels let down, unable to act, depressed, and finds it difficult to bond when there is no food for the child or children to eat. Future generations then panic when a child is born, that they can't afford to feed it, or they'll be trapped, unable to work. Essentially, logical reasoning, but it's survival messages passed from generations to generations. That adds again to a nurturance gap, and the gap contributes to addiction, the escapism of future generations. Where nothing is repaired, just repeat it. So how is this pattern solved? By revealing the dark secret, which of course takes us on to the next subject.